We've got some breaking news.
Well, I think we'd have that anyway.
Every week.
I know, yeah. So, Rugby World Cup draw.
I actually watched this semi-live.
Did you?
Yeah.
How do you watch it semi-live? So on replay?
Yeah, a replay, yeah. But only just slightly after when it had finished, so I could fast forward all the...
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did that because they just spoke in French most of the time.
Brilliant.
Which obviously it is going to be a French World Cup, but
yes,
you'd arguably say that most people watching it weren't French. They didn't even have any subtitles.
Tough.
So
until Ma'anonu spoke.
Well, you
still need subtitles.
It was actually pretty good, to be fair. So what do you reckon of the groups, Tobes?
So group stage, if you haven't seen it, Pool A is New Zealand, France, the big names. Pool B is South Africa, Ireland, Scotland. That's probably the hardest pool.
I disagree
Pool
with you.
C is Wales, Australia. Pool D is England, Japan, Argentina.
And who else?
The Oceania qualifier and the Americas qualifier.
Who's that going to be? Oceania's probably going to be Samoa.
It'll be Samoa and then the Americas.
So you're telling me that pool of death C isn't the pool of death? Because I tell you what, if I was England...
pool of death D.
Is it D? So, I wouldn't want to be England with Argentina, who looked very good against New Zealand.
Well, it's going to be Argentina and England who go through.
No.
Yes. On current form.
No, it's not.
If we go on current form.
Listen, I don't care about current form.
That's part of the question.
It's going to be Japan and Samoa that go through.
Imagine that. Imagine.
How good would the World Cup be if Japan and Samoa made it out of that group? Now, you're probably right. You're looking at current form, which is pretty difficult because Japan haven't played, Samoa haven't played. But
no, that's right.
You would imagine that it would be England.
But then Pool C, you could go Wales on current form are absolutely
dire. And
Australia are all right. Fiji, their one game that they played against Georgia was good.
Mm.
So then you've got South Africa, Ireland, Scotland.
Yeah, you feel a little bit sorry for... I mean, when you talk about the pool of death, they all think they're in the pool of death.
Yes.
Because South Africa are going to make it through.
Well, on current form, Italy might beat us.
Mate, on current form, Italy would not beat us.
So who would play who going through? Would it be A versus C, B versus D?
I think it's A versus B, C versus D.
A versus B.
In the semis, but I might be wrong. And probably am wrong. Last week I got quite a few things wrong in the
Did you?
podcast.
What did you get wrong?
Oh, most of it.
Oh, funny.
But I talk with such authority that even I thought I knew what I was talking about, but no. It was exciting. It is always exciting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing actually who ends up playing who in those. So, once all the qualifiers take place, it becomes even more interesting, doesn't it? The first one that I'm going to go with here today is the Barbarians, 13 banned and heavily fined as RFU stick the boot in. And this was to go back about that match, the Barbarians match that got cancelled because they had a bit of a good time out.
Before the Nations... Was that before the Autumn Nations Cup or whatever?
That's right, yeah. And I kind of read into it. And do you know what it smacks of? It smacks of if you're playing in England or Wales or Scotland, you get an easier run than if you're playing outside of those countries. And there's a lot of, we banned them for 1 week, but we gave them community service and we banned them, we fined them money. But what annoys me about this is they blatantly have done this so it doesn't affect their players playing in their competition. And that's annoyed me. Whereas if they had have really been ruthless and really wanted to make a stand, they wouldn't give them as much community service, but they would have given them more games off. Yeah. They would have banned them for more games and they would have fined them more money, and then they could have donated that money to charity.
That's what they should have done.
But instead, what they've done is they've gone, we'll give them
the
community
RFU
service,
will take the money,
so they can still play their games that we want them to play.
Yeah.
And if they're playing for England or they're playing for Bath or whatever, then what we'll do is we'll speak to their coaches and we'll allow them to dictate when they would have played their players. And blatantly, sometimes they wouldn't have played them.
No, that's right.
So they've basically got no ban. So I just think it's very, very soft, and it is unfortunately what I feel's happening at the moment in rugby is they've got these great principles that they expect the players to stick to, but the
RFUs, the big dogs,
they're absolutely ruthless, and they're doing what's in the best interest of themselves rather than what's in the best interest of rugby all the time.
But that's a business almost, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but don't then expect your players, the barbarians who want to go out for a drink, don't expect them to, play by their rules all the time when they don't even play by their own rules.
Well, the barbarians is a different type of rule, isn't it?
Exactly.
The barbarians team, I mean. It's more of a touring team.
Incredibly naive for them, the RFU, to think that the barbarians weren't going to have a few beers out. And they should have actually catered for them to do that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Now, arguably, some people will say they catered for them to do that in their own hotel. And that's a good point. But,
there's both sides to this argument.
There is, isn't there? I'm firmly that they shouldn't have left the hotel and done it, but I'm also thinking it's a bit naive, and they should have just sort of said, well, we'll just ban them for 4 games each. Points made, happy days. But they didn't. They've tried to shoehorn it in and make sure that the players are available for when they want them to play.
Yeah. Right, going on a similar kind of ilk, Dialante, so the South African winger, has been given a 4-year ban.
Is there
for
any
doping.
reason why you haven't announced this full?